have two great ones that I've been using for the last 5 years.
Oh, brother.
You want, yeah.
We gotta get him in here too. Yeah, come on, you guys need to get up there too. Thank you. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for your donations. Yep, Robert. No, there's not.
Years.
Something to do with your, like, I don't understand. That was how when I used to do these in sprint triathlon, I was always the guy who would like 15, 16, 16, sprint marathon. I was talking like the same things, like you wait till your kids all over time.
Was that a speaker slip?
Yes.
Why?
I always put mine in public comment. We're speaking public comments. You really got I want. Public comment here. Keep going over there.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. At this time, we will reconvene the Redlands City Council, and we will have the invocation and pledge of allegiance by Councilmember Paul Barry. Will you all please rise?
Lord, Lord, we thank you for this day of life, and that we may assemble here for the purpose of deliberating on the matters relating to the government of our city. We thank you for our city employees who work diligently, productively, and faithfully in executing their duties across all departments in service to our community. Please protect our fire, our police, and our employees, and keep them safe. We thank you for the residents who are in attendance, and the concerns and thoughts and ideas that they will share for us today. We do this for the betterment of our city. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. McHugh, closed session report.
Yes, there was no reportable action this evening.
Thank you, Mr. McHugh. This time we'll have the Redlands pet adoption. Who do we have tonight?
We have Mark.
Mark. Mark.
Good evening, everyone. As you can see, Mark is energetic. He's ready to go. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Animal Control Officer Joseph Martinez with the Redlands Animal Shelter. Tonight we have Mark, a 3-year-old male chocolate terrier mix. Mark will keep your heart warm with kindness. This guy gets along with other dogs and kids. He will be perfect for any family. Mark wants a home where he can lay on the couch, watch Netflix, and eat snacks. Our current population at the shelter is 30 dogs, 34 cats. Our adoptions since the last council meeting are 7 cats, 19 dogs. We have 2 upcoming events. The first one is with our partners at the Toyota of Redlands, and we're naming it Pups and Trucks. On this Sunday, February 9th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We will have some 4-legged friends available for adoption. The second is Love a Pet, reduced price adoption event from February 10th to the 15th. At the Redlands Animal Shelter, dogs adoptions will be $50, cat adoptions will be $35. And this includes adoption, vaccines, microchip, spay and neuter. We want to thank the Redlands Elks Lodge and Red Fosa for sponsoring this event. Once again, thank you for supporting the Redlands Animal Shelter.
Thanks, Mark. All right. We're going to have a little bit of fun tonight. I am support a local charity. Over the Christmas holidays, Mayor Pro Tem Davis and her roommate, who works for Children's Fund, the young man standing over there in that gray onesie, Nick, was they were putting out a challenge to raise some money for the last family that Children's Fund was trying to do a great Christmas for. And from that point on, I'm going to let the Mayor Pro Tem say what happened.
Sure, absolutely. So we had a short amount of time, and I thought, what's going to catch people's attention on social media? And I saw Nick in his onesie, and I thought, I have a onesie too. So I put on the onesie, we took a photo together, put it on the internet, explained to people what we were doing. We had a goal of raising $500, so $100 for each family member. Within half a day, we had raised over $1,000. So we provided a really amazing Christmas to a family in our region, but there was a catch. 2 of my council colleagues commented on the social media post, the mayor and Councilmember Momberger, and said, we'll double our donation if you wear a onesie to the council meeting. So here I am tonight, coming through.
With your end of the bargain.
Thank you very much. And I thought I would take advantage of the fact that I had to wear a onesie to the council meeting and invite my favorite Girl Scouts from Troop 1854 to join me in wearing their onesies. And I want to thank them for being here and thank everyone who contributed to the drive we're doing tonight. We're doubling our impact, so to speak. We're doing a drive for Children's Fund for the assessment center. And actually, if we can, I want to let Nick tell us a little bit more about the
Yeah, we're
assessment
gonna come
center.
in, all my council colleagues and the Girl Scouts will come join us.
in their onesies.
Yeah, they're gonna come up.
I think I would too, but it didn't go with my heels.
Oh, I'm sorry. Troop 1854.
Who's the sponsor?
There we go. All right. So do you want, Nick, you're up.
Sure, you want to take a picture first?
No, you talk first.
Okay, well, I wanted to share, something that we like to ask the youth who we serve. There's a question that we pose to them. What are the 3 best things about you? And you know what ends up happening when a young child is asked a question like that? If they're growing up in a safe, positive space, they'll say things like, I'm fast, and I'm good at art, and I can really hide well in hide and go seek. And we love getting those responses, but there is an alternative reality for youth who experience cases of crisis through poverty, abuse, neglect. They're seeing a sense of less belief in themselves. It's harder for them to answer that question. We, fortunately, thanks to a lot of collaboration in our community, have a Children's Assessment Center which directly deals with all the cases of abuse and neglect across San Bernardino County, which Children's Fund partners with throughout the year. The amount of youth who were served in 2019 alone through the Assessment Center going through cases of abuse and neglect was around 1,800 children. Of those 1,800 children, over half of those children were under the age of 7. And so what we found was that there was a need for us to be better educated about how many very, very young ones would benefit from having some additional support. And so hopefully when we ask these children the questions about what are the 3 best things about them, they feel a better sense of comfort, belief in themselves, because people like you and our community care to give something back to those kids and help them feel safe and warm. So without further ado, I want to make sure we're able to highlight all that was brought here, but wanted to thank everybody for being a part of the drive and your continued support of Children's Fund.
Thanks.
Let's squeeze closer together. That's good. All right, everybody ready? Very good.
Got one more there.
Oh, I'm videotaping.
One behind you.
Oh.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And ladies, young ladies, thank you for your support of this effort. And, okay, you want to get them for me? Thank you, and I believe the Mayor Pro Tem has something. So stick around. Okay. We're waiting on you.
It's my honor to present you with the City of Redlands pin. Thank you for coming to the meeting.
It'll look good on your PJs.
What great. I put mine on today.
There you go. Right there.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ladies. How about another round of applause for the Girl Scouts? The Mayor Pro Tem is so comfortable, she's going to stay in it. All right, moving right along, we're going to move right into public comment. The first speaker slip I have is Francesca Sweet, and Miss Sweet will be followed by Richard O'Donnell. Miss Sweet. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the City Council and other city leaders. My name is Francesca Sweet, and I come to you not only as a concerned resident for my property, but on behalf of our neighborhood and our greater community. As I'm sure you are aware, The grove that borders Palm and Alvarado Avenues, otherwise known as the Heaney property, has recently sold to Diversified Pacific. Since our home shares a property line with the grove, we were contacted by the developer in person and in writing, assuring us of their desire to conduct themselves respectfully, communicatively, and legally. However, we have been saddened of some of the recent occurrences to the contrary. Our fellow neighbors have individually received differing and conflicting information as to intent and the actual plans. Diversified Pacific has unfortunately had previous issues with fulfilling what they promised and what the city of Redlands asked of them. An example of this was their development by the airport. I am deeply concerned that their plans now show a request for more than 30 homes when the developer first stated to us much fewer. More specifically, on Saturday, January 27th at about 7:30 in the morning, we were awoken by a group of unknown people in the groves, blaring music and disturbing the trees. When my husband went around to ask what they were doing, we had received no notification of this. They had no visible business name, license, permit on any of their vehicles or attire. In addition, they gave us a false phone number to call. We are concerned about what Diversified Pacific is doing. We are concerned that they will simply start bulldozing soon. We are concerned that they will ask for forgiveness later instead of permission now. They could irreversibly destroy one of the last original groves in Redlands before even coming to you for a single permit. They could skip steps like environmental impact studies and various approvals. Once the damage is done, it is too late. We don't trust them, not one bit. Their intent is questionable and alarming in the harvesting of the grove before even the proper time. In the past, it has not been done until February or March, and that they would choose to employ contractors that were not able to give proper ID or information makes us trust them even less. On the advice of our legal counsel, we are asking the city to order a restraining or injunction against Diversified Pacific to protect this grove
Thank you, Ms.
until
Sweet.
plans are approved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. O'Donnell? Mr. O'Donnell will be followed by Joshua Hall.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I have a new neighbor, Diversified Pacific Communities. You may be familiar with them. They recently purchased the Heaney Orange Grove up on Palm, also a barn, 2 houses with some history. They intend to turn this large property record, clearly an agricultural area, into 30 or so little properties, a couple bigger ones with the historic houses, and a strategically placed little grove-ish park, like a fig leaf but with an orange theme. I'm sure that the homeless will appreciate a new campsite. Now, homage is frequently paid to the local citrus industry here. There is even a citrus preservation commission. I could quote City of Redlands measures on the topic or the 2035 general plan, but I have limited time here, and I actually prefer to view the council meetings at home on cable. Suffice it to say, if the city council genuinely is committed to the unique citrus-flavored character of Redlands, preventing the breakup and development of this grove would be an excellent way to show it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall will be followed by Dennis Bell.
My name is Joshua Hall, and I'd like to put out a public comment on Measure G. There are conflicting stories about Measure G. One of the conflicting stories is that Measure G will help rebuild the Redlands Mall, but I don't think that's the case. The actual text in the measure says nothing about rebuilding the mall, so that leads me to conclude that the story about rebuilding the mall is a smokescreen. I I believe Measure G will, when enacted, kill homeowners' property rights, kill property values, and dry up equity, and it will increase traffic in the short term, but deprive people of their private transportation in the long term. It'll increase crime, it'll increase poverty, and I believe Measure G, when finished, will be far from the promised utopian ideal that we've been sold.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Mr. Bell? Mr. Bell will be followed by Eric Hutchins.
How did I do?
Good evening. Omnitrans is facing huge projected financial deficits from declining riderships. It recently held informational meetings on proposed cuts in service starting this September. One of those cuts is reduced bus service to Redlands. So much for people supposedly clamoring to ride public transit. If Omnitrans needs to cut service, it needs to eliminate the multi-million-dollar boondoggle SBX bus that nobody rides and isn't any faster than the regular bus that travels the same route. Then one morning last week when I was walking State Street, a person stopped me. They told me they were from out of town and wanted to know where a good place to eat was. I gave them the names of the downtown eateries and directions. Before they left in the direction of one of them, they asked me why there were so many empty stores downtown. I told them I could only speculate that it was because of high rent, especially since businesses had recently been evicted for non-payment of rent. But I told them if they really wanted to know, they should check with City Hall and their Chamber of Commerce. Both think they have the answers for everything. Measure G transit villages and terrain won't solve the overpriced, so-called vibrant downtown's problems, especially homelessness. That's a fallacy. And the February 28th city manager meet and greet needs to be a town hall meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Mr. Hutchins? And Mr. Hutchins will be followed by Dr. Sam Wong.
Hi, Council.
Welcome, sir.
So I'm coming to ask for the council's help. I've in I guess an assistance of trying to amend the city municipal code, chapter 8.04 on nuisances. I live in the Smiley Park district, a lot of close historic homes, pretty close together, and with some neighbors that are pretty heavy smokers. That actually comes through, and the way that my house is situated, and the way that their back porch is up, and so I've asked them to stop smoking here and there, and then it comes down and it comes right in the house, so we can't open up the windows. Every time I've asked them to stop smoking, they'll call the police will come and they'll just talk with us and try to figure out what's going on. They don't want to assist at all. Code enforcement has only come to a point to where, excuse me, that they're looking at a 0.04, 0.220 smoke and soot, which is the closest thing to tobacco smoke, but it doesn't state tobacco is going to be your tobacco or anything like a weed plant or whatever that could be considered to be a nuisance. And so they're kind of putting their hands up and really don't know what to do. So it was recommended that I come just kind of start this. I've already emailed Councilperson Davis about this issue just to kind of see what the next step could be. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchins. Dr. Wong. Dr. Wong will be followed by Lynn Schneider.
Send the smokers to me. Send the smokers to me. I'm sorry, I don't have coronavirus. I'm Chinese.
Come on, Sam, let's go.
Okay, do we start it? Start. It's not working.
I guess you have unlimited time, Sam.
Oh, okay. I'm advocating against Measure G, obviously. I love the onesies. If we actually advocate for Measure G, we're no longer going to be able to see the mayor in onesies. I'm sorry, not the mayor. The mayor pro tem in onesies. That's what happens with Measure G. We can no longer come up to the chief of police and shake his hand, and the chief of fire. We can't do that anymore. The quaintness, remember the general plan that we spent $900,000 for the general plan back in 2017 or so? And the prevailing comments that a lot of people said was, we love the quaintness in the city. Let's erase that. How many of you smelled orange blossoms coming in here today?
Yep.
Let's erase that. How about the Victorian homes? We want to keep those. All right? Stack and pack. Are we going to get rid of the Victorian homes where they can see the mountains? We'll erase that. Small town feels what they also said. Stack and pack will no longer have the small town feel. Most importantly, people like to call them home. Measure G, I don't know if I'm able to call Redlands home anymore. I don't want to call San Francisco. I used to live in San Francisco. It's no longer home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wan. Ms. Schneider? And Ms. Schneider will be followed by Great Britain.
Hi. Years ago, there was a TV quiz show called a $64,000 question. It was actually the most influential of the early TV quiz shows back in the 50s. Contestants answered questions, eventually leading to a prize of $64,000. Coincidentally, developers from Newport Beach and San Diego have given exactly that much money so far to Yes on G. They want to be sure to win and to change Redlands forever. But they won't be living here. And Mayor Foster may move away to a fantasy island after his term ends. But we will still be here.
Enough money.
And we hear that Measure G is the only way to fix the mall. But that's not true. It could have been fixed years ago if the council and the developers had the creativity, the courage, the will, and the perseverance to negotiate under the terms that Redlands voters put in place. But they would rather try to scare you into thinking that this ballot measure is the absolute last chance for the Redlands Mall. Don't fall for it. The Redlands Mall is not even mentioned in Measure G. So here's my $64,000 question. How can you fix something that you don't even mention? Supporters of Measure G say that it will reduce crime, combat homelessness, and improve our city's services. It will improve our city's parks and recreation, support our neighborhood businesses, and create good paying jobs. Shazam! Redlands is going to be a utopia. It's too good to be true. Psychologists call this magical thinking. And you know, we're going to have a trolley powered by unicorns too. Don't fall for this. None of this is in Measure G. The entire content of the measure is about a 782-acre swath of Redlands from Alabama Street to Judson Ford, half a mile north and half a mile south of the rail line. Measure G will allow developers to build residential apartments and condos of unlimited height and density in this area. Also, don't fall for the slick door hangers, mailers, or fake personal letters from your so-called neighbors. These are all written by campaign hacks who live in Sacramento or Connecticut and do this for a living. They are fake. Don't be fooled. Vote no on G and go to saveredlands.com to join us. Thank you.
And Mr. Britton will be followed by Ken Hunter.
Before I begin my Measure G remarks, I have a challenge for the council. I will pledge $100, and we'll see if anyone in the audience will do so likewise, to Children's Fund if the rest of the council will wear onesies to the next meeting. Do I have any takers? $100.
Thank you. Whoever said that.
I don't have to wear. Okay, fair enough.
Fair trade.
I thought we had a good thing going there. All right, give me a start right. Get my timer set. Hang on a second here. There we go. As Renee Schneider was just saying, if Measure G passes, the council can build unlimited height stack and pack apartments everywhere shown in this map here, from Alabama over to Judson Street, as far north as Lagonia, and south past Olive. And the question that voters should ask themselves is, why is the council seeking this power if they don't plan to use it? They just as easily could have included height limits, density limits, in Measure G, but they did not. Also encourage people to read the impartial analysis done by the city attorney. It is in your voter guide. It confirms the height limit is repealed. It confirms that the traffic restrictions and limitations are repealed. The density limit is repealed. You can read all of this in your voter guide if you have any doubt.
And you can also read the actual law itself.
Why all of the money, the last time you looked, for Yes on G comes from Orange County and San Diego developers. Not a penny from anyone in Redlands. The No on G side, a much smaller fund, is entirely funded by Redlands residents. Do out-of-town developers really have the interests of our people and city at heart? Why don't you consider that? In my remaining time, I want to address this. And I've heard some of the arguments made in favor of Measure G. The mall, that's the lead argument, fix the mall. Well, the mall could probably be redeveloped under existing law with a 4/5 vote. But even if some change of law was necessary, the mall does not run from Alabama through Judson Street. A much more narrowly focused measure could have been done if absolutely necessary to address the mall. But that's not what Measure G says. Another major argument is, well, the state is going to do something really bad to us, so we have to pass Measure G now. One of the standard sales techniques is to create that sense of urgency. You gotta buy today. But we don't. At the Chamber of Commerce meeting, Mayor Foster mentioned the SB 50 was defeated, but even if that was passed, the city would have had 2.5 years to figure out what to do. So it is not Measure G or nothing. It is not Measure G or leave them all as is. We don't have to give the city council a blank check now in order to do these things. They can come back with something more modest, more limited, and restricted to do some of these things, the mall if necessary, without having to give the city council a blank check today to build unlimited stack and pack apartments everywhere from Alabama to Judson Street.
Thank you, Mr. Pitt.
Thank you.
Mr. Hunter. And Mr. Hunter will be followed by Janice Hauser.
Good evening, everyone. Measure G, whose idea was this? Not you, not you, not you. Not the idea of anyone who cares about Redlands. In fact, Measure G was written by the developers with city bureaucrats and employees. Measure G is Measure G anything that Redlands residents want or need? Absolutely not. Measure G represents top-down corruption, not the will of the people. Just a couple years ago, this council was firmly against approving a small townhome project, demanded the owner install video cameras tied into the police station to mitigate increased crime from the townhomes. Well, things have really changed since then. We reject this scheme to ram hundreds of Soviet-style high-rise apartments down our throats. Just say no to Measure G, and please visit SaveRedlands.com at SaveRedlands.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Janice Hauser, and Ms. Hauser will be followed by Doug Hauser. So you're going to claim him, is what you're saying.
I'm going to claim him.
Good.
I did it several years ago. So Greg says that the No on G people are all from Redlands, but they aren't. I'm here from up in Highland, you know. So I addressed you last time and telling you how much I love this city and this unique character. I come to speak against Measure G. For much of my career as an adult, I worked for the Democratic Party for issues that were called liberal. During that time, I sided with environmental groups such as the Friends of Earth and the Sierra Club. These groups urged us to do all we can to protect what God has given us. I fought for the proposition that created the Coastal Commission to make sure that high-rise, density populated apartments and condos did not ruin our coasts. I submit to you that communities far from the coast warrant this same protection. The beauty of the coast cannot be matched. That being said, the beauty of Redlands cannot be matched. The wonderful tree-lined streets, the spectacular views of the nearby mountains, and the wonderful individual neighborhoods. Each of these tiny communities are unique and deserve our protection. I believe that Measure G threatens all those neighborhoods. High-density, high-rise apartments will change the feel and the daily lives for Redlands citizens and those who work, recreate, and do business in this city. That's me. Can anyone deny that this proposal will increase traffic, increase the cost for all services, education, police, fire, and other emergency services? Will these services be delivered at no financial cost? And who will bear this cost? Of course, the people who own homes and businesses here. Just like a lot of cities around this state, taxes will increase. And that the tax increases are sure to follow. And you can be sure of two other things. People will move, businesses will move, and Redlands will not be the same. The people who support Measure G claim to save the mall. And like a lot of the speakers before me, the mall is not even mentioned in the text of this measure. The council can both save the mall and save Redlands.
Thank you, Ms. House.
Without this measure, vote no on G. Thank you.
He's not going to be as nice as I was.
I'll try to be very nice, though, which make everybody who knows me laugh. Okay, I wish to speak in opposition to Measure G. I have lived in many places in my life. I grew up in the suburbs of Long Island, New York, and lived for several years in a small college town in upstate New York. When I moved to Southern California in the late 70s, I lived in several communities in the San Fernando Valley. I've also lived for several decades in the San Gabriel Valley in Pasadena, Altadena, Glendale, and Arcadia. Now for the last several years, I've lived here in the Inland Empire. I can assure you that a community that allows a large number of densely packed apartment buildings has a much different feel than a community of single-family homes with few such apartments. And the difference is not an improvement. I've seen the effect of many low-income families and individuals moving into a community in a short period of time. It is not beneficial to the town that allows it. And this is not a racial thing either. The neighborhood I grew up in Long Island was approximately half African American and half Italian, and Jewish, me in the middle. But everyone lived in homes that they owned. People took pride in their neighborhood. They knew each other. Their kids played on the same sports teams, and the parents watched out for each other's kids. This does not happen in a community which has many renters, people who do not own their homes and do not feel especially attached to local businesses. Everyone knows that renters often do not have the financial resources to care for their homes and surroundings the way that owners do. And everyone knows that apartment buildings gradually, or not so gradually, become worn down, decrepit, and less than optimally functional. Then, who's to bear the cost of renovations and urban renewal? Of course, it is local homeowners and business owners, an incredibly unfair burden to place on them, and one that can be easily avoided. If the council wishes to be able to provide low-cost housing for people of limited means, which is a worthy goal, I would be happy to consult with them at their convenience. I had an uncle who was a huge real estate developer here in Southern California for many, many years, and we frequently discussed this question a long time ago, long before the homeless problem and housing cost situation had gotten as extreme as it is today. But some of his suggestions that he had are still appropriate to our situation. At any event, I strongly urge the council to support the defeat of this measure, and I urge all citizens who love their town to vote no on Measure G.
Thank you, Mr. All right. Moving right along, at this time, the consent calendar. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar. Been moved by Councilmember Barry, seconded by Councilmember Tate. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, moving on to communications, we have discussion and possible action relating to the designation of a delegate and alternate to participate in the 2020 Southern California Association of Governments Regional Conference and General Assembly. As the staff report indicates, I'm recommending that Councilmember Momberger represent the city to the SCAG conference. Before moving, we do have one speaker slip. Mr. Britton, you wish to address the council?
I do. This item actually does relate to this previous Measure G. When we went to school, we learned about the different branches of government, the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. We also learned about the different levels of government. You have a local government, the city council and a mayor, we have a county, state government with a state legislature and a governor, and the national government with Congress, the courts, and the president. So what is SCAG? What is this organization, the Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG? It's an emerging new type of government, regional government. And you might ask yourselves, well, when did I elect my member to SCAG? Well, you don't. You don't get to elect a member to SCAG. Unlike the legislature, the city council, Congress, the Senate, president, governor, all these politicians have to come back to the people periodically for re-election. Not so in these regional government agencies that have enormous power and an ability to allocate money. SCAG is one of the lead agencies behind the development, you've seen this all across Southern California, of this high-density stack and pack housing. And the goal is to get as many people as possible from single-family homes and into stack and pack apartments. So when do I get a chance to vote on that? Well, you don't, because it's a regional government agency that we should all be keenly aware of and not want to grant power to any government that does not answer directly to the people. Like Hauser talked about the value of single-family houses. President Franklin Roosevelt said the nation of people that own their own homes is unconquerable. In addition to the benefits of home ownership, all other things being equal, there's less crime, kids do better in school, there's more community engagement. There's also an enormous economic asset because over time, your home appreciates. And that's why the baby boomer generations, they have so much more wealth than the younger generations because they have appreciated homes. And the way things are going, and you force people into these apartments and restrict development, make housing prices so high, many younger people aren't going to have the opportunity to get that house and build up that equity. So the agenda is not good, and the people that are pushing the agenda in a regional, unelected government agency is something that we should not have. The decision's going to be made, should be made by people like up here. If you don't like what they do, you can vote them out of office at the next election. You can't vote out your SCAG member. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Britton. Dr. Wong, you wish to address the council on this item again as well? Where's your grease point? Oh. Time's up, Sam, sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Wong.
Okay.
Without a grease board, you can't talk.
My whiteboard. Well, I'm not being racist. Anyway, as far as SCAG is concerned, Tony, I remember sitting with you at Augie's one time. I mean, you came to me talking on site at Augie's one time, and I really liked that idea that I can come to you, you can come to me. You were the editor for the Redlands Daily Facts at the time. And that's a very personal relationship that we've fostered over the years. I like that. I hope you don't go up to become the SCAG representative and represent SCAG and everybody else, but come back to us. Come back to the people. See what we are speaking as you become the representative of SCAG. SCAG, there are people who actually speak up against SCAG. I'm sorry, other elected officials who actually speak up against the issues of sandbag as well as SCAG. I hope that you will be as independent as you had been in the past. I really do. I really applaud you for being independent. And
have the ability to say, no, this doesn't look right, let's re-look at it, let's reinvestigate this. I really appreciate that. I even remember that one time we were sitting over at the corner of that restaurant over in Brookside, and you were crawled up on the chair, and I like that. That tells me that you are one of us. I really encourage you to, as you become an selected member of SCAG or representative of this conference, I hope you be able to speak up for the people of Redlands and not necessarily of everybody else outside of Redlands. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. I move to designate Councilmember Monberger to serve as a delegate for the 2020 Southern California Association of Governments General Assembly meeting. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. As you can see, I left the delegate designate for alternate blank. Is there any colleague of mine that wishes to attend as the alternate?
Sam will go.
Hearing none, then we will.
I think we all want to.
Okay.
It is May 16th.
We have time to bring this back for the alternate, so why don't we talk about those of you that are interested, and you can let me know if it fits your calendar. Happy to have you attend if that can work. All right, moving along to new business. The first item of new business is the consideration of resolution number 8060, approving a master lease purchase agreement, payment schedule, escrow agreement, and equipment schedule with Holman Capital Corporation with respect to acquisition, purchase, financing, and leasing of a Type 3 brush engine in the total amount of $359,302.68. And I may have that number wrong. $380,383.68. Due to a typo in the original staff report. Interim Fire Chief Dessler.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and I'll hopefully clear this up for everybody. So, the Redlands Fire Department is seeking to purchase a Type 3 wildland brush engine. These brush engines are used to respond to fires in our community, local jurisdictions, throughout the state of California, and serve as reserve apparatus for our fleet. This purchase is to replace our 1995 brush engine that's currently housed at our fire station 2. This engine is over 25 years old, well past its service life, and with the advances in technology, safety, and emissions, it is vital for us to replace this unit at this time. The master lease agreement with Holman Capital is for us to use for our larger purchases. It is used on a case-by-case process, following the city rules and regulations for our purchasing, and goals approved by City Council. The Redlands Fire Department is seeking a lease to purchase for our brush engine. We have $97,326.18 funded into this fiscal. The term for this lease is 3 years with 6 payments. There is a $5,000 setup fee. There is no prepayment penalty, and the interest rate for this is 3.05. The total being requested is $380,000, $383.68. This capital project has been vetted by city staff. I'm available for any further questions in the report.
Thank you, Chief. Questions of staff at this time?
What do we do with the engine that we have now? Is that traded in some way, or we keep it on reserve, or does it go out to pasture?
It's going to be going out to pasture.
Other questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 8060.
Your mic's not on.
I move to approve resolution number 8060.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Tejeda and in stereo, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Davis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next item of business is the consideration of a mitigated negative declaration for the Zaha Trail and Greenway project located adjacent to the Mill Creek Zaha between Church Street and 7th Street, and the approval of a license agreement with W. Wood Associates Development authorizing construction of the trail. Facilities and Community Services Director Boatman.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure to bring this next item to you concerning the development of the next stage of the Zaha Trail and Greenway. This is a trail that was first proposed to Council in 2015. At that point in time, the council adopted a concept plan for a multi-use trail that started around the area of 7th Street in the downtown and followed the general alignment of the original Mill Creek Zanha all the way to the far easterly end of town at Wabash and beyond. The trail is meant to work in conjunction with the Orange Blossom Trail. The Orange Blossom Trail, which is an adjacent trail that follows the rail right away, is a Class 1 bikeway. This is really a pedestrian walkway. And in 2017, council approved the very first phase of the trail. This phase extended from Lincoln Street all the way to Wabash, and it included the development of Laramie Park, which this is a graphic of the original park that was shown to council at the time. The trail was completed last year and it was fully funded by a private donation. It's a heavily used amenity. Both this and the Orange Blossom Trail get frequent users all day long, every day. You'll see people use the trail to get to school at Crafton and also access the whole area. So following this first, and just a graphic of the park and images of what the park alignment looks like. So again, this is a natural DG trail with different amenities along the route. So after we developed the first phase of the trail in conjunction with the donor and also the Redlands Conservancy, who's working to administer the funds from the donation and also work with our consultants in the city, we looked at what the next phase of the trail was, and that was the area between 7th and Church Street, which is an area that was the next area with the least amount of constraints to help make the ultimate connection from the downtown to the university and the east side of town. So this phase of the trail involves a city parking area between 7th and 9th Street. Right now, this parking area is just behind Hatfield Buick, if anyone's familiar with that. It contains 80 spaces. It's actually not completely developed. There's a dirt area on the east side. So this parking lot will be reconfigured. It'll still have the same number of spaces, 80 spaces, and the trail will be aligned on the south side where you see the trees. There'll be a trailhead right in this location, and it'll have some like overhead decoration, naming the trail, and a lot of landscaping will be added. The trail will cross at 9th Street and then pick up on its alignment next to the channel. And similar to the rest of the area that was developed farther east of town, you're going to see the area that currently is just dirt in the channel transformed into a very nicely landscaped alignment with the trail. And it'll continue all the way east to Church Street, and there'll be a crossing put in the street in that location as well, where it will eventually connect to what will be a connecting segment to the Sylvan Park area. This is what the photos of the area look like right now. As mentioned, it's undeveloped, dirt, and you're going to see a lot of these amenities going in play. I don't have a specific rendering per se of the area. Your staff report has the actual construction plans, but I wanted to include the renderings you saw earlier just to give you an idea of what that theme is going to look like. So before you tonight is a mitigated native declaration that includes mitigation measures for construction of the trail. In addition, a license agreement to authorize Woody Wood and Associates to actually construct the trail. Like the first segment, this is being funded with private donation. I do want to mention one thing in your motion under number 2. The very last sentence should read a multi-use trail. So if you are inclined to read the motion, multi-use trail. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Director Boatman. Questions of staff?
I have a question. Yes. I didn't see any orangemen in your selection there, so will we get orangemen in there?
Better.
We're always open to council requests, so.
That's right. I think it was kind of council direction.
Council direction, yes.
Yeah.
Council direction. There will be orangemen.
And Wood is a local resident doing this.
He's a local resident, local contractor. He also is the contractor that constructed the first phase.
Right. Yeah, he has to finish my project. This one first.
All right, any other questions of staff? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt a mitigated negative declaration for the Sankey Trail and Greenway project located adjacent to the Mill Creek Sankey between 7th Street and Church Street, and direct staff to post a notice of determination in accordance with the state's California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. And I further move to approve a license agreement with W. Wood and Associates Development, Inc. and its associated plans and specifications for the construction of a multi-use trail on city property.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Councilmember Momberger and by Councilmember Barrett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. This is great news to see that Zaha continue its development. Thank you, Director Boatman. The next item of business is removed from the agenda at this time, and we'll move on to item L, individual council member announcements and or reports on activities. We'll start with Councilmember Tejeda tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I have to report is a Healthy Redlands meeting I attended.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Councilmember Momberger and I were honored to host our new city manager at the AAUW branch meeting this Saturday. And other than that, I've been canvassing for Measure G and participating in local events, one at the U of R and also one with the mayor hosted by the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you for doing that. Councilmember Barrett.
I had the honor to be at a flag raising at the Burge Mansion. A little history about that. This is the third annual one. The mayor joined us. He spoke very, very well there. People don't realize, but the first Pledge of Allegiance was done at Kingsbury School in the United States. So we have something better here to hang on. So it's kind of contributed on, and of course, it's fantastic. I attended the. They had a art sale at the Museum of Redlands Friday, and they were selling art for to help fund that. I was at the Esri event that Charlie Munger was speaking at. He is an associate of Berkshire Hathaway. Very, very intelligent gentleman. That was really quite a treat to see somebody like that. Paul, you're going to enjoy this. I was at Troop 11 Pancake Breakfast.
So was I?
Yes.
Very good.
And then I spoke at the round table in support of our measure.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Momberger.
Okay, I attended the Redlands Skate Park first anniversary celebration. I took a webinar on legislation affecting homelessness through the League of California Cities. I attended the open house reception for the new city manager, the first of two. And at the AAUW event that Mayor Pro Tem Davis mentioned was a really big deal for me. I got to present a special award, the Name Gift Honorary Award, to my mother for her community involvement and support of AAUW mission. So that was really nice to have the city manager there as my guest to see that.
We'll congratulate her for us. Thank you. Normally I don't report any activities that I do, but I will say that most of my time has been out campaigning in favor of Measure G. I have been pleased to present to multiple service clubs and community organizations, as well as a great many one-on-ones, which have been very positively received. I'm encouraged by that. I'm encouraged by the enthusiasm among our young population in the community to see Measure G passed, and it's just very rewarding, regardless of how the measure turns out. It's rewarding to see the engagement that we have in the community and have the opportunity to clear up some of the misinformation, much of which was repeated today by the speakers, and it's nice to have an occasion to set the record straight with all of that. So I look forward to continuing that over the next several weeks and on to a successful March 3rd. All right, we're going to move at this time to adjourn the City Council meeting to our next regular meeting to be held on February 18th, 2020. And I will call to order the successor agency of the former redevelopment agency of the City of Redlands. At this time, we'll take any public comment. I have no speaker slips. Seeing no one rush to the forefront, I'm going to move on and ask for a motion to approve the minutes of our December 3rd meeting.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Tejeda, seconded by Vice Chairman Davis. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the communication to the successor agency board of the approval of the the recognized obligation payment schedule and administrative budget for July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2021. Management Services and Finance Director Garcia.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. Here to provide you with a brief overview of this item is Farrah Jenner, Assistant Finance Director.
Ms. Jenner, welcome.
Good evening, board members. The successor agency is required to take certain actions with regard to managing the assets and obligations of the dissolved redevelopment agency. One of those obligations includes submitting an oversight board approved recognized obligation payment schedule, or ROPS, to the Department of Finance and to the San Bernardino County Assessor Controller's Office no later than February 1st. On December 16, 2019, I presented the fiscal year 2021 ROPS to the Oversight Board and received the board's approval. Upon receipt of the board resolution, I submitted the Oversight Board approved ROPS to the Department of Finance on January 14th. This action furthers the successor agency's dissolution, as the annual ROPS is required by the Department of Finance as a part of the wind down process. The fiscal year 2021 ROPS included an increase of $53,817 in the amount requested from the Redevelopment Property Tax Trust Fund, as compared to the previous year. This increase is due to an increase in administrative salaries, debt service payments, and the addition of a new obligation. The new obligation is a debt owed to the City of Redlands for misapplied rental income. The rental income property owned by the successor agency was transferred to the city in May of 2016 part of the long-range property management plan. However, the corresponding rental income continued to be reported as successor agency income when it should have been recorded as income to the city. The new obligation will return the rental income to the city's general fund. The Department of Finance will have until February 15th to review the 2020-21 ROPS and provide the successor agency with a compliance determination. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you, Ms. Jenner. Questions of staff? Thank you again. I would entertain a motion to receive and file this item.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Tejeda, seconded by Vice Chairman Davis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I will adjourn the successor agency board of directors meeting until our next regular scheduled meeting to be held on March 3rd, 2020. Thank you all very much for being here this evening.